Yo, what is up guys, it was IzuKage here with a new what if, and this what if is gonna be what if Naruto went back in time. So this idea has been done by a lot of really good what ifers like my boy Six Meister, so I hope you guys enjoy how I do it, but apart from that, make sure to check out some of the links in the description below where you can join the Discord server, chat, have fun, and also if you're looking for some dope anime merch, there's a link to that in the description also, but I'll get more on that later on in the video. So I hope you guys will go on to enjoy the what if. So we start this what if off in the war arc, specifically at the death of Sasuke and Naruto. So Madara, he's looking over all of the ninjas and said to Tobirama, who has like a bunch of chakra rods in his back right now. And Madara said to him, "It was fun fighting, but I think it's about time I take care of these loose ends." Now, everyone and their Ninetales cloak, it completely disappeared since Naruto is dead, and from above them, the clouds parted, revealing a third meteor. And the IzuKage got worried because he was really exhausted at this point, but he needed to stop it. But before he could even start moving, an invisible force held him down and a chakra rod was stabbed through his back. And he coughed up blood and dropped to his knees, and he was barely hanging on. Ino ran over and started to heal him since Sakura was trying to revive Naruto. And as all of this is going on, the meteor is still coming down and is going to hit them. And Gaara, he's really far away at this point and he won't make it in time. So everyone is watching as the meteor came lower and lower. But at the last minute, Gaara used all of his sand and shot it towards the meteor, trying to slow it down. But it wasn't really effective since he was pretty far away. But Hashirama clasped his hands together and said, "Forest bloom." And trees rose from the ground and wrapped around, making it really strong to support Gaara's sand. And the meteor wasn't stopped, but it was significantly slowed down. But as they thought everything was under control, he dropped another meteor on top of that, directly on the last one, completely destroying everything in its path. And when both meteors struck, it left a massive crater and many died in the attack. And by many, I mean practically everyone except those who are obviously strong enough to survive it, like Kage and reanimations. So we switch really quickly to Naruto, and right now he's talking to Hagoromo, and after figuring out who he was, Naruto showed some respect, and then the sage said, "Naruto, right now most of your friends have died in battle." And Naruto was confused and he said, "How? There's still a lot of people out there trying to fight." But Hagoromo had a grim look on his face and said, "I wish that was the case, my boy, but I have planned for this. I will give you half my chakra and use the other half and the rest of my being to send you back into the past." And Naruto was confused and says, "How is that even possible?" And Hagoromo said, "Trust me, Naruto. The lives of your friends and your future as a whole lies in your hands." Then everything around Naruto started going dark and he screamed out many questions like, how far will he go back, and will he still have his memories, and what about Kurama? But then there was silence, and Naruto woke up in bed, breathing heavily, and he looked around seeing that he was in his room, and he was wondering if that was all a dream or something. And Naruto held his head because more parts of his dreams are starting to unravel and it's becoming a bit overwhelming. Then Naruto's doorknob started to twist and turn like someone was breaking in, and Naruto thought quickly and he reached for his kunai pouch, but he didn't have one. And then the door opened, revealing it was just Hiruzen. And Naruto, seeing him, let out a sigh of relief, and Hiruzen said, "Oh, you're already up. Just making sure you don't miss your first day of the academy." And Hiruzen walked out, closing the door behind him. And Naruto slowly sank back into bed, and then he shot up again and said, "First day of the academy?" And after hearing that, everything began to click in Naruto's head. He was transported back in time. And Naruto's mind began to race, thinking about how he's gonna change their future. But for now, Naruto, he just needs to act normal. So he puts on his signature orange and blue jacket and orange pants, and Naruto looked in the mirror and said, I look ridiculous, but I just have to wear it for now. So he sighs and leaves, and before he goes to the academy though, he stops for a bowl of ramen at Ichiraku. And Naruto, he sits down and says, I'll take the usual. And he starts searching through his frog wallet for the 1 month free ramen that Teuchi gave him after the pain fight. But then Naruto realized he wouldn't have that because he's back in the past. So Naruto, he just eats his ramen and pays in cash, and then finally gets to the academy. And when he walks into class, he just sits at his usual spot by the window, and he starts looking over everyone in the class and just admiring where they started from and the tremendous progress they've all made. But he was brought out of his thoughts when Iruka walked in and started greeting everyone in class, and then after that taking attendance. So after doing all of that, Iruka, he gets into the lesson, and I haven't done one of these in a while. So whenever Iruka is teaching, I give you guys a quick test on your Naruto knowledge. So this question is gonna be, what is the most common acronym for Kakashi with 2 Mangekyo Sharingans? For example, Kurama Chakra Mode is normally shortened to KCM. So it's Naruto KCM. So also I'm editing the video right now and I just realized I said Kurama Chakra Mode. It's QB Chakra Mode, but I mean, it's not really that big of a difference, but you guys get it. Leave your answers in the comments for what you think it is. And the first right answer, I'll ping the comment. So back with Iruka, and he's finishing up his lesson and lets everyone have lunch, and in lunch, Naruto sees Sasuke eating by himself and quickly runs down, beating Sakura to a seat next to him. And Naruto, he was like, hey, Sasuke, right? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. And the Uchiha massacre, it hasn't happened yet, so he's a bit more friendlier than usual. And he says, oh, I'm Sasuke, did you need anything? And Naruto said, well, I hoped we could be friends, maybe train together. And Sasuke's like, I mean, that doesn't sound too bad of an idea. So Naruto, in his head, he's giving himself like a pat on the back. But then Sakura just had to ruin things, and she's like, excuse me, I was going to sit next to Sasuke. And Naruto just internally rolled his eyes so hard because all the memories of Sakura he had, they're just coming back to him, and he's just realizing just how annoying she's always been, and his love for her really clouded that. So he's just seeing this and he just can't stand it. He just gets up without saying a word and walks off. And Sakura, she smirks, acting like she really did something, like she won something, and she sat next to Sasuke to annoy him next. So Naruto decided to go around and form stronger friendships with some of the students in his class, like Shikamaru, Choji, Hinata. But they didn't really have much time because not long after, Iruka returned to class and he started teaching again. So he tells the students that he wants them to take a quick strength evaluation test. It's just a short physical test where he's gonna test each student's physical fitness. So Iruka has the students line up and they go outside, and at the start of the first course, which is gonna be a simple jog around the back of the school, and it's the last person to stop running who wins. So then Iruka, he starts, and as expected, after around the 5th lap, students start getting tired and many stop, but Naruto and Sasuke surprisingly kept it going for even longer. The two kept going and looking at each other like it was a real competition, but after the 18th lap, Sasuke, he collapsed, making Naruto the winner. And Naruto walked up to Sasuke, and Sasuke's thinking Naruto is about to gloat in his face, saying he's better than him or something. But Naruto, he just said, you did insanely well. I was about to collapse right with you. And Sasuke, he was kind of surprised by this because no one was ever really had any friendly competition around him. So Naruto, he extended his hand to help Sasuke up, and he grabbed it and they got up together. So next up was a taijutsu sparring session, and everyone had to partner up and they would go against each other. And first up was actually Naruto versus Sasuke. And Sakura and Ino were the loudest, cheering for their Sasuke-kun, so the students made some space for them, and Iruka said, now let's have a fair and clean fight, let's begin. And Naruto had a solid stance with one hand forward and another closer to his chest. And then Sasuke, he just ran at Naruto without much technique, just trying to hit him. But Naruto, he grabs his hand and turned around and used his leg and kicked Sasuke's and flipped him onto the ground. But he tried to make the impact not too hard, and Sakura was devastated and called out Naruto for cheating because there's no way her Sasuke-kun could have lost. But Sasuke said, "Sakura, can you please just shut up for once?" And she was shocked, and Naruto helped Sasuke up and said, "Next time, try tracking your opponent and don't fight so wildly." And Sasuke was actually taking Naruto's advice, but Iruka, he was the most impressed by Naruto because that was not an easy move. Being able to shift your weight that cleanly, that requires years of practice. So after everyone went, the school let out for the day, and when Naruto got home, he started experimenting with his chakra, trying to figure out what he can and can't do. And soon he realized that he can't perform any of the jutsus he once knew, and he'd have to relearn all of them, which isn't too bad because Naruto, he already knows all the steps, so he can train and learn way faster. But then Naruto's mind immediately went to Kurama. So he went to meditate to attempt to enter his mindscape, and he did. And Naruto appeared in this wide open room with water all over the floor. And Naruto turned around and saw this massive cage, and he yelled out Kurama's name. And then not long after, a deep voice said, "How do you know my name?" And hearing this, Naruto already knew that Kurama did not remember him, but he said, "Hagoromo, he sent me back in time. In the future, the world as we know it is in danger." And Kurama kept silent because Naruto mentioned Hagoromo, but he said, "What proof do you have?" And Naruto began thinking, trying to find something, anything he could show for it, but then he remembered what Hagoromo said. "I will give you half my chakra and use the other half to send you back in time." So all he needed to do was bring out the half of Hagoromo's chakra. So Naruto did hand signs and chakra started swirling around his body and collected into dark spheres floating behind Naruto's back, his truth-seeking orbs. And seeing this, Kurama steps out of the darkness and looked at Naruto, and he said, How do you know that technique?" And Naruto said, "Like I said before, I received chakra from Hagoromo himself." And Kurama couldn't believe it, and he kept silent. While throughout the night, Naruto, he explains his life to Kurama and what will happen in the years to come. And to say Kurama was surprised would be an understatement. He was baffled by all of this, but trusted Naruto since he could sense he wasn't lying. And the amount of detail Naruto went in, it literally couldn't be a lie. Because Naruto, he would have to be the best liar on earth to come up with that story. So after everything was said and done, Naruto said to Kurama, "I'll find Jiraiya to release the seal, but until then, I'll figure out how to use the 5-pronged seal to loosen it." And Kurama just said, "Okay, kid." And Naruto faded out of his mindscape. So we start this 5-year time skip, and during which Naruto, he would train his socks off, mainly in chakra control because that's what he was like the worst at. And also learning different wind jutsus like Gale Palm and Rising Wind. And Naruto, he would also work on his physical strength, and we can't forget Shadow Clones, of course. So this is Naruto's last day at the academy, and he's made strong relationships with almost everyone in his class except Sakura, because Naruto just couldn't stand her. And for Sasuke, he did get more reserved after the Uchiha massacre, but Naruto, he kept being good friends with him, and even they would train together sometimes. So he gets to class and sits next to Sasuke, and he said, "Oh, Naruto, you're here pretty early." And Naruto says, "Well, it is our last day," and Sasuke, he just nodded in agreement. So the two wait for more and more people to arrive, and finally Iruka gets to class. So he starts talking about how the graduation exams will go. Students will have to do a written test and then perform a clone and transformation jutsu. So he goes around and starts handing out the test papers, and Mizuki is actually there helping him hand these out. So when Mizuki gets to Naruto, he hands him a paper, but Naruto, he senses that there's a genjutsu over it and he does release. And Naruto realizes that the questions are way easier than what Mizuki just gave him. So Mizuki is trying to sabotage Naruto because he isn't trying to let that demon become a ninja. So Naruto, he looks over the paper and he's like, this isn't even not that hard. And Naruto, he finishes it pretty quickly, and half an hour later, Iruka has everyone pass the papers up to the front where he would collect them. Now time for the clone jutsu test, and Iruka calls the students up alphabetically, so first up would be Hinata, I'm pretty sure, if I know my alphabets. So she did the clone jutsu perfectly, and then the transformation, she transformed into Iruka. So that was all fine and good. And after everyone would go, next would be Ino, yada yada yada, and then it came to Naruto's turn. And Naruto walked up to the front of the class really confident, and Iruka told Naruto he can go whenever he's ready. So Naruto, he made some hand signs, but they were different from what everyone has been using thus far. And he said, multi-shadow clone jutsu. And smoke from the jutsu filled the entire room. But when it cleared, there were Narutos all over the class. And when someone touched one of them, they realized that these were solid clones. But how? And Iruka is staring all over the class, just mind blown, seeing about 100 Narutos. And Naruto smirked, then despawned 95 of them, leaving 5 plus himself. And then he transformed into the first to fourth Hokage, and one was Jiraiya and the other was Tsunade. Ino was the first to realize and said, "Are those the legendary Sannin?" And Tsunade, she said to Ino, "Betcha." And finally, Naruto released all the jutsu, and at this point, Iruka, he was overwhelmed, bro. He just put the infinity sign for Naruto's grade, and he walked back to his seat proud. So Sasuke said, "We haven't trained together in a few weeks, and you're already this far ahead?" And Naruto just laughed. So with his almost perfect exam grade, Naruto was announced Rookie of the Year, and you could imagine when the news spread all across the village, the villagers were mad about it but all they could do is try to get Hiruzen to make Sasuke the true Rookie of the Year. So they had members of the civilian councils call for a meeting. So Hiruzen is in his office, doing his usual mountains upon mountains of paperwork. And then an Anbu member appears and said, "Lord Hokage, you're being summoned to the council." And Hiruzen is wondering why anyone would call a meeting at this time. So Hiruzen, he goes to the meeting room where all the clan heads, Danzo, and the elders, and 3 prominent civilian members are sitting waiting for his arrival. And Hiruzen sat down and said, "What is the purpose of this meeting?" And Hiyashi Hyuga pointed to the 3 civilians, and Hiruzen said, "What is it?" And one of them stood up and said, "Lord Third, it has come to our attention that Naruto Uzumaki has become the Rookie of the Year." And Hiruzen, hearing this, was actually kind of surprised to see Naruto progress that much. And he said, "Okay, what's the problem?" And another civilian stood up, and she was Sakura's mom, and said, "The problem is that we can't have the demon going around thinking that he's better than everyone." And Hiruzen had an angry look on his face, and he snapped his finger, and an Anbu appeared behind the 3, and Hiruzen said in a menacing tone, "Need I remind you that this is a S-rank secret? If you say it out loud, what will happen again?" The civilians started sweating bullets, and they said, "We're sorry, Lord Hokage." And then Danzo chimed in and said, "This isn't the first time they're doing something like this, Hiruzen. I say remove them from the council. They're no use. After all, this is a ninja village." And Hiruzen thought about it for a moment and got up and said, "If this happens again, you 3 are off the council. Got it?" And they took a gulp, then nodded. So Hiruzen went back to his office, and as he sat back in his chair, he said, "If what they're saying is true, then Naruto must have really gotten stronger and more mature. I'm definitely gonna go check up on him." So Hiruzen got up and started walking towards Naruto's house, and as he's getting closer, he could sense an ominous chakra, and he started having flashbacks of the Ninetales attack. He thought, no, did the beast take over? And he started sprinting towards Naruto's apartment, and when he got to the door, he could sense it even stronger. And Hiruzen bust through the door and bit his thumb because he was ready to summon Monkey King Enma, and then he saw Naruto meditating with the Ninetales cloak surrounding him, and it had 6 tails. Hiruzen was stunned, but he just stood there and kept watch over the beast, and he called from Yamato, but he won't be here for a while. So meanwhile, Naruto is in his Mindscape talking to the QB, and he said, "It seems I can handle up to 6 tails, let's try 7. And Naruto lifted his shirt, and seals started appearing on each of his fingers, and he said, 5-pronged seal, loosen. And he jabbed himself in the stomach, and he winced in pain. And then on the outside, Naruto slowly started forming the 7th tail. And Hiruzen, he's starting to get worried and said to himself, where the hell is Yamato? But as he did, Yamato came in through the door, and when he saw Naruto, he immediately started doing hand signs, and he held his hand towards Naruto, but Hiruzen stopped him and said, he seems to be under control, maybe Naruto could tame the beast. And Yamato was wondering if Hiruzen had gone mad. But then the chakra around Naruto began getting weaker, and slowly he returned to his normal self, with no hint of the Kyuubi's chakra. And Naruto's eyes then opened, and he sees Hiruzen, and he says, oh, what's up? And as Naruto got up off the ground, Hiruzen said, are you okay? And Naruto is just like, yeah, why? And Naruto sees Yamato, and he said, Yamato sensei, it's been a while. And Yamato is like, I don't know you, kid. And Naruto realized he just messed up. And Hiruzen said, Naruto, I need answers. How did you control the Ninetales, and how do you know Yamato? And Naruto was backed into a corner, and he had no choice but to reveal his secrets. But that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. I can already see the comments saying cliffhanger in all caps. But while you're down there, tell me what you guys would like to see happen in the story and what you want Naruto to do, etc. So if you guys like the video, like, and if you like my content in general, consider subscribing. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next What If.